Here we go with round 4 on the play once again. We have a Deathrite Shame and potential turn 2 Boom, but also Inquisition Bolt, so that's certainly a good hand. I'm not going to mulligan. And what we might want to do here is to delay the Boom Bust. No, yeah, we would like to delay the Boom Bust. I would kind of like to Inquisition, then Bolt Deathrite, and then Boom Bust, but we don't know if we draw land. So I think we have to run out the Deathrite Shame once again. Now, a black-green or black-red sounds like the most natural card to get first, because it's going to cast most of our spells. I'm going to go with Blood Crypt off a Marsh Flats. That way, once we have a forest, we have basically all the most important cards. No, he plays an indestructible land, so we can't boom here. One more matchup where the boom isn't really going to be all that exciting. And it looks like he has a pretty explosive draw here. Hopefully we can Inquisition him before it gets out of hand. It looks like he doesn't have that much to do here, which is good news. Good news. So Boom Bust not really an option. We need to Inquisition and Bolt here, which we can't do with Twilight Mire. But yeah, I mean we could now just fetch, because booming the mana base of an affinity deck that starts with Citadel Mox Opal is almost impossible. What we could try is to get an Inkmoth Nexus with it. So I kind of like just making mana with Deathrite here, dropping Twilight Mire to just keep our options open in that regard. But then, yeah, I don't really see how we can include Boom into this sequence of play, so we might just want to fetch anyway. Let's just see what he has and then we decide. We have more lands to fuel our Deathrite with. We can drop Bloodbraid next turn for sure, so not really concerned. See what he has. Hopefully we can get one of the key cards of Affinity out of his hand. That looks pretty good. He does have colored mana. The Master is going to be rather small. 1, 2, 3, 4. If you place the Nexus, it's basically a 4/4. Yeah, so it's still much larger than any of these. If he casts the Ravager, we can bolt it, and we can definitely bolt the Overseer. So going to get rid of the Master here. He does have the mana to play both of these, but that's the case whether we bolt the Pest or not, and the Bolt is going to get one of his better cards. So let's do it like that. We actually have the potential to just... No, we still don't want to Bloodbraid into Boom Bust, because destroying all lands is not what we want to be doing. He drops the Overseer. We now have to decide what we want to bolt. If we bolt the Ravager, we can be pretty sure that he isn't going to sacrifice 3 artifacts. At least I wouldn't expect him to. Otherwise we could bolt the Overseer, but then he just eats it with the Ravager and still has that Ravager threat. Basically this is the decision how to play against Arcbound Ravager overall. I think having a smaller Ravager should actually be easier for us, but I don't think he can afford to sacrifice too many artifacts. Now an Overseer is going to generate more counters. If you want, it's kind of like Steel Overseer producing card advantage, while the Ravager is just a way to convert resources. So I think it's better to destroy the Overseer so that he doesn't get the continuous effect from it. What might still happen is him saving the Overseer, but I can't really change that. Okay, that's kind of what I was expecting here to happen. Now, I like this better because he basically doesn't have a threat now, which seems pretty good. And we have a pretty bad hand, but hopefully that Bloodbraid is hitting something good. Okay, that's basically a whiff. I'm just going to cast it anyway. And now I think we are on the defensive here, but we shouldn't underestimate the power of Deathrite Shame in such a spot. If he attacks with Ravager, are we going to block with Bloodbraid? Or if we are attacking, he just sacrifices 2 artifacts to keep it alive. He probably even does, but that means we could stay back on the defensive. Yeah, I think we are forced to play this defensively. Not too sure about it, but I'm kind of scared of his Ravager going out of control. For which we don't have that many answers to in this deck. If he allows us to trade here, we might have a shot because modular counters on either of his creatures on the Blinkmoth Nexus aren't remotely as bad. But otherwise we might be in a pretty bad spot. That's not doing much for us, I'm afraid. So what we can do is to just boom the Nexus, keeping open green to gain some life, and then see what happens. At least we get the Nexus out of him. Still need to top deck something really good, but yeah, hitting all these discard spells after he had depleted his hand probably cost us here. He's somewhat all in with his Ravager, but I need to deal with his Ravager and his Flyers at the same time, and I can't really think of cards to accomplish that in time. Going to take 8 here. Don't think I can block because I need Deathrite Shame should I draw Bloodbraid Elf, but then I might already be dead, to be honest. Yeah, that's not enough. Let's concede this. See if we can win the other 2 games. Now, how should we try to win the Junt matchup, like the affinity matchup robots? I guess just having more removal spells is certainly good, and Junt Charming for 2 seems amazing. Why, not too sure if we want to Liliana to just try to get rid of everything he does, or if you actually want Spellskite to make his modular ability weaker and to prevent him from beating us down too quickly. Although, as we've seen, the most dangerous cards are the flying, other evasive creatures. So the Boom Bust has to go once again. Sadly, we never got to see it in action, really. Or it wasn't yet, never really amazing. Abrupt Decay is really good. I like the third Pulse, and I also like Junt Charm. I'm not sure about the Lilianas, as I've said. They really don't do much on a board where he is ahead, but they can be really good if our main plan of disrupting everything he does works out. And then I kind of like to just be able to turn to Liliana and get some value out of that. What we could also do is just to take out the Thought Seizes. They are solutions to whatever he's trying to do, but all our removal spells are solutions as well. So I kind of like to not rely on these too much, but maybe go for Kitchen Finks and either a third Liliana or a Spellskite instead. One Spellskite doesn't seem too bad, but in all honesty, there isn't too many targeted abilities or spells out of him I want to redirect. The only thing I can think of is actually the modular trigger, and that seems like not like a card that's good enough to do much there. I'm going to try to play 3 Liliana, even though it might seem counterintuitive against such an aggressive deck. Liliana at least is always going to do something on any board. That's sadly a no-land hand. That's a very slow hand, but I think we have to keep it. I'm going to play this tapped, preserving my life total, because I don't have a 2-drop, so it won't cost me mana, hopefully. He has a turn 1 Mox draw again, with a creature and something to drum. But he doesn't use the mana from the drum at least. So here we can just Godless Shrine tapped and then see what he does. We could also kill the Vault Scourge, but we don't know what other creature he has in hand and what he's up to. So I'm going to wait with the Bolt. Let's see how much mana he has. This gives him an additional mana, so, but not if he plays a creature, basically. If he has no other land, he couldn't cast Master of Ethereum if I bolt the Vault Scourge. But that's only true if he doesn't draw a 0-drop and so on. I think bolting the Vault Scourge here isn't the right play. If he attacks for 1, I'm not going to bolt it, but if he drops a Plating and equips, I'm bolting it, of course. So the Master is there. Already a 5/5, so nothing I can bolt. And that means I'm bolting this one. Makes the Master weaker and doesn't give him the Vault Scourge life. The list my opponent is playing seems pretty difficult to beat with so many high impact cards. Hopefully we can draw into something better than what we are drawing right now. I believe we only drew land so far, so we need to cascade into something good while our opponent is up so many cards. Going to use the kitchen things very defensively here. Don't want to take unnecessary damage. And I don't see how I can play this game aggressively enough to threaten his life total. Pulse, that's a start. So we can pulse the master or pulse the ravager, but then the master is still a gigantic creature, so kind of have to get rid of the master. Archmon Ravager is going to be a 2/2, and now we can once again decide if we want to be attacking or not. If we attack with things, he's just going to sacrifice one of his artifacts to make his Ravager larger. I think we play this defensively like we did before. Even though he has all these cards, it's very easy for him to just block my creature and have a very profitable block. These artifacts don't really cost him much, so it's at least better to double block the Ravager with both of my creatures, making it a bit more difficult for him to go about things. And an edge champion is going to be quite difficult to deal with also. Yeah, I don't like our chances here, but what can you do? So we are looking at a 5/5 protection from all colors. And he has 3 artifacts, 4 artifacts. Might even be casting something else. Yeah, I don't think we'll get there, but he's probably just activating a Nexus and then sacrificing that, but there isn't much I can do about that. He's probably also going to ignore my Liliana completely and just going to continue beating down. We are on a high life total, but that edge champion really makes it very difficult for us to do anything. And that Steel Overseer is out of control also. Yeah, and a plating. That's tough. equipping Edge champion. We might be dead in 2 turns here. Oh, interesting. He attacks with Steel Overseer and Blinkmoth to play around Bolt. But if we had a Bolt, we would have bolted Steel Overseer long ago. So, don't really agree with that line of play. I also don't agree with even killing Liliana, because now Bloodbraid into Liliana is better than before. But we are just dead to the champion, I guess. We would need to Bloodbraid into something that deals with the plating, and then we probably still die. And that doesn't work because Protection from All Colors gets around Lingering Souls, and we are dead. Too bad. We probably should have won round 3. This didn't look very winnable at all. So, hope you enjoyed this look into Constructed. Sadly, the daily didn't really work out, but this was more about getting a feel for the deck and showing you some Constructed content on the way. As always, let me know what you think in the comments. I'm for sure going to do more limited in the future. I personally think that the Return to Ravnica format is still very interesting and a very good practice for Gatecrash, to be sure. So yeah, hit me up on Twitter, Simon Götzen, or on Twitch when I'm streaming, also the same username. And yeah, enjoy Magic. Bye.